Hey guys, Marcus Took here. I am especially excited about this episode of Dream Job because it has left me starving. Talking to a baker will do that. So today's guest is my friend, Shauna Sever, who is a baker, a cookbook author, a TV personality, a mom, and much more. Shauna and I met about a decade ago when we were both entertainment reporters for TV Guide Network. Shauna was only there a little bit because, as it turns out, she was about to become a mom and her career was about to make a big change in direction. Since then, she's written 3 cookbooks and is working on a 4th, has built up quite a following on her website and via Instagram, and also appeared on The Today Show with Kathy Lee and Hoda on the Food Network, Hallmark Channel, and more. So as a guy who loves to cook and who enjoys baking, and given that Shauna gets to eat what she bakes, I think she's got a dream job. My only regret about this chat is that we weren't eating while we talked. So, Shauna, I am in Los Angeles. You are in Chicago, but I feel like we would be better suited if this was in a kitchen and we're baking while recording the podcast.
That would be awesome. Next time.
Next time, the second version of this, we'll do that. Well, you do a number of things well. In addition to the baking, you're writing cookbooks. You've got a great social media game. What does your business card say? Shauna Sever, what?
That's a good question because it was a challenge to do my last card. So it basically just says, Shauna Sever, cookbook author, TV, radio, web. Like, I kind of just put it all out there.
Everything,
yeah. I mean, for the past year and a half plus, I've been working on a cookbook. So that's been the thing that's sucked up most of my mental and sometimes emotional energy. So I think I've been saying primarily I'm a cookbook author, but, with that comes, doing TV and video for clients and for different shows. I'm a radio contributor, which is one of my favorite gigs. And then I do recipe development and feature writing for magazines and web. So I kind of have my fingers in a lot of different pots in that way.
I feel like you should have said pies just to stay consistent. My finger in a lot of different pies. My finger in a lot of different brownies.
Right.
So what you do now is interesting, but I want to get to how you got there first because that's also interesting as well. You studied journalism in college.
Yes.
Knowing that you would one day apply those skills to making the perfect brownie.
Not at all. I actually decided to major in journalism because I was actually a theater kid growing up and wanted to study theater, study acting, and was encouraged, not so subtly, to choose a major that was maybe a little more practical. And I chose journalism because, the basis of it is writing, and I've always enjoyed writing. And so I knew at the very least I could become a better writer. And, that's definitely a huge part of my job now. It was a big part of my job, even working as a TV host, because you have to understand how to structure a segment or an interview or whatever it is. And so there are a lot of skills learned from that major that I do apply now, for sure.
I mean, I think the storytelling aspect is what's key because isn't part of baking telling a story even more so than just general cooking? It's the idea that this recipe has been passed down and it's gotten to where it is through some sort of evolution. The people who have made it before, and there's a start, there's a middle, there's an end to the baking process.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of why I am drawn to baking as my niche. I mean, food media has exploded and you can find absolutely anything online, any recipe you like. But I think the reason why I chose baking is because the stories have always come so easily for me from there, whether it's my own personal memories or, people like to send me recipes from all over the place. And what always comes along with those recipes that are shared are, who they know, who made it, where they got the recipe from. And it kind of goes back and back and back. And this book I'm working on now is all about the baking of the Midwest. And it's about sort of the home baking culture of the region and really focusing on the a little bit of history because I don't want it to sound like too heavy of a book, but it's really about roots, like going back to the origins of recipes and what people, and more importantly, what countries a lot of these recipes came from for people that settled in the Midwest. And I just don't know if you could do that in quite an endearing way with savory cooking. And so that's why, I choose baking. And also I love the alchemy of it and sort of the problem solving aspects and how one tweak can give you a completely different result, and how that's part of the art of writing a recipe is just making sure that you're watching those little tweaks so that you can inform your reader of those tweaks so they can have success. And that in itself is a bit of a story, the story of creating this thing. And the writing is huge. It's sort of the root, really, of what I do, if I really sit and think about it.
How often are you baking? Are you making something every single day?
Oh, God.
Your Instagram
today.
makes it look like that.
No, it is. And actually, there's a lot of things that I photograph that I don't post on Instagram because I'm trying to keep a visual record of the recipes I'm making so I can then show them to my photographer and my editor as we're getting closer to shooting the book. But I am baking pretty much every day at this point. Last night I was up till 2 a.m. trying to get an apple fritter to work the way I wanted it to work. And then finally went to bed and woke up this morning and kind of took a left turn on it. But it sort of all came together once I got a good night's sleep. So I think I finally nailed that recipe. But pretty much every day I'm in the kitchen or washing dishes or grocery shopping, which are as equally time-consuming part of the job as anything else, by the way.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of, what you just mentioned brings up a question. So when you see these cookbooks that have these amazing pictures of all this delicious food, whether it's cooked food, baked food, whatever it is, are you the one baking that? How does that work?
Well, different authors do it different ways. I mean, I have plenty of author friends who like to be very hands-off in the visuals aspect, and they don't create any of their food for photography, and they hire a food stylist. I actually style all my food for my books, and I have...
But that means if you have a book with how many items would you say are in a typical baking cookbook?
This is definitely my most complex book, and my recipe count right now is at about 125 recipes.
And how many of those recipes will end up with pictures, accompanying pictures?
We're shooting for about half. That's usually a pretty good ratio of photo to recipe for a reader to give it flow and keep it interesting. So
you've got to go make 60 of those items.
Correct. Yeah.
That sounds, not bad, but it sounds arduous.
It is. The shoot, it's usually about a week, at least, 5 days. I think this book we're really going to try and do 6 or 7 maybe, just to kind of give us some more time. But that is my favorite part of making a book because, up until the point that you shoot the book as an author, you're kind of like living in a vacuum with these ideas and these recipes, and you're in your own kitchen and you're second guessing yourself. And when you get to the stage of book writing where the editor, really start having discussions with your editor. I just had a phone call with my editor and the person who's assigned to design my book yesterday, which is really exciting. And then when you're doing the photography, it's like you're letting some of these ideas out into the world. Like other people are seeing them for the first time. Besides, recipe testers. I have a couple people that I really trust to test recipes to make sure they work. Can I get on that list? Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I'm always looking for people to do that.
Yes.
But when you're photographing a book, it's like these things come to life. And that's why I always hire a photographer, because I know my own limitations, and this, hire someone who can make these ideas and these things look really beautiful. And it's kind of awesome. I mean, there's always a moment in the photo shoot process where you'll be looking at the screen as the images come up, and then you suddenly see something that you've, only made in your own kitchen, or like your kids have eaten it and whatever. And then it looks like a supermodel, and it's sort of, I always cry at least twice on a photo week, because it's like, oh my God, it's real. It's happening. And it's collaborative. It's just my favorite part of the whole thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you sit around and eat everything.
Oh, by then I'm not. I mean, I never want to see an apple fritter again. It's like by the time you figure it out, it's like one bite and then you're kind of trying to test it for texture and flavor. And then you kind of just want to like spit it out.
Get it out of here.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, so are you doing this in some sort of a test kitchen somewhere, some beautifully styled kitchen that's serving as, the backdrop for this stuff, or do you do it in your own kitchen?
I do it in my own kitchen. When we shoot.
For the books. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when we shoot, usually it's a studio that the photographer has. Everything that I do is always natural light. So we'll do several days shooting tabletop stuff in a natural light studio. And then a woman who's doing some art direction for me on the book, which is just to say another set of creative eyes to kind of tweak each image and make it look really fantastic. She has a farmhouse in Western Michigan that we're hoping to do a couple of days there to get some more kind of wider environmental shots, because the Midwest is such a visual thing. The landscape and the architecture and stuff is a really important part of the food of this book. So
it's obviously the theme of the book. I am obviously a big fan of Texas cuisine and have a couple of Lisa Fane's cookbooks. And the name is escaping me right now, but it's Texas style cooking, and it's kind of like you either have to shoot that in Texas, or you had to figure out how to bring Texas to the pages, or else it doesn't match. It doesn't add up. Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with propping. I love that part. I've actually been indulging my thrifting habit and collecting a lot of my own props for this book. And so that is what tells the story. It's not just the cookie or whatever it is. It's the plate it's in, or the jar it's in, and the linen that's next to it. And do you put a cup of coffee or a glass of milk next to it? And like those things really create a feeling around an image. So that would go into a lot of, not every person can shoot a book about Tex-Mex in Texas. So you use other things to sort of evoke that feeling in an image.
What about for your Instagram, which how many followers do you have on Instagram?
I think like 15,000 or something like that.
So you have 15,000 people, which, by the way, is that kind of a pinch yourself kind of deal that you have? Because this is your people who have said, I want to see what Shauna's putting out there every day. I want to see this stuff. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it feels kind of soulless to say it out loud, but there was definitely a point about a year ago where I had sort of said, I'm not very good at Facebook. I really don't like Twitter anymore, but I like Instagram. I like it as a platform. And I think especially for food, it's just very visual and it's such a warm community. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on trying to grow this audience, here. And that worked, and I got it to sort of a certain point where it felt like it was substantial. And then it kind of snowballed a little bit after that. But it definitely is a thing where, the number of followers you have is very helpful in this freelance gig, because that's what it is. All my little jobs all string together, and the higher profile ones are definitely easier to get when you have those numbers. So.
But it's a fun, I think it's a fun account to follow, one, because I'm always rooting for you and the stuff you're doing, but two, because the photography on there is spectacular, and that's you, right? You're taking all the pictures?
Oh yeah, that's my phone. That's,
I mean, that's some pretty stellar iPhone photography.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so nice.
So what's your process there? I mean, you said you're a big fan of natural light. Is there an app you use? How do you get your pictures Instagram ready? Or is it just all within Instagram?
No, I mean, I just sort of shoot it on my phone, and then, I'll sort of like, I don't even know the names of all of the little like functions, but I'll usually, pretty much every photo needs like a little brightening.
A little love.
Usually a little warmth, because
Sure.
of my kitchen, the way the light is, I usually have to warm it up just a touch or sharpen it just a touch, but I don't really understand filters. I don't really use them. But I mean, I think a lot of it is about sort of angles and thinking about something you're looking at in terms of, what's the most interesting thing about it? A lot of baking is brown. It's a book of brown food. Carbs are brown and it is delicious. But
go figure.
Yeah. So you think about something like, if it's like a bar cookie, either you're going to shoot it in the pan overhead, so you get sort of the graphic nature of abundance of a full pan of bar cookies, or if you're going to shoot one, you kind of have to get down and look at the sides of it, like look at the interior of it, and the texture of it is sort of more appealing if you're dealing with like a singular piece of something. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think. Yeah.
I feel like you're almost shrugging off a little bit the photographic aspect of it, but really your recipe could be amazing. Your skill level could be amazing. Your presentation could be amazing. But if your photography skills were terrible, then putting it out there in front of people on Instagram, I mean, that community just couldn't happen. So it's like the creativity, the artistic approach that I think even goes into that aspect is what that's why people are following. They want to see that stuff because they want to eat their phone.
That's always a really great compliment. Like eat the phone or eat the picture or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, I have great respect for great photographers, and we're lucky that we live in a world where, people have a pretty great camera right in their pocket. I mean, could you imagine trying to take food photos with our little, point and shoot like film cameras we used to have? Like, it was awful. So, I mean, it does help to have this really amazing tool like at the ready. That's always very helpful. And actually, I need to upgrade my phone. I was just thinking about that the other day. All my friends have like the fancy, like the latest iPhone. And I was like, makes you want to.
Oh, I mean, imagine those brownies in portrait mode.
What? Oh. I don't have portrait mode, Mark. I'm telling you.
I don't either. But I mean, you take it to the next level.
This is what we're missing. That's what's missing.
Speaking of next level, I imagine that there are millions of home bakers out there, men and women, that wished that they could do this kind of thing every day, that they could do some of the stuff that you're doing, who are passionate about baking and the community that comes with that. When was the moment for you when you transitioned from, hey, I'm the TV journalist covering entertainment news and interviewing Garth Brooks, to hey, I think I just might be able to make this thing work?
I would say it probably was when I got the contract for my first book, which, by all accounts it was a small book. It was a little single subject book called Marshmallow Madness, and it was 50 recipes all about homemade marshmallows. And it has
very niche.
It's very niche, and it has a puffy cover, and it's colorful, and it's just a really happy little book. And I think that was something after a lot of years of, and you know what this is like, you're going to auditions, you're taking meetings, you're constantly taking in other people's sort of opinions about you and what you're doing. And it all feels so just subjective, like your success, And when I got the opportunity to actually write my own book that was going to be, bound and printed, it was going to be my own voice. And I had a wonderful editor who was very similar in mindset to myself. And so I knew that I was going to get a lot of creative, control over the whole thing. And it meant so much after so many years of kind of feeling a little bit beat up by trying to get gigs, to get something that it felt like it came so easy, and it felt like very natural and yet challenging at the same time, because there's nothing low key about writing a book, even if it's a small book about marshmallows. I mean, that still was months and months and months of recipe testing, and there was like corn syrup over every surface of my house, and it was insane. But it was energizing work. And I think that was the first thing that I did in the food writing realm that felt legitimate, because it was going to be published. And I was able to do press for the book, which was I like doing that. I like getting out and discussing my ideas with other people. And so I think maybe that was the thing where I went, okay, now I feel like I really have to do this, because, I have friends who write one book and say, I'm never going to write a book again. And like, I don't understand that. Like, how can you just write one book? Like, I don't get it. So,
well, for some people, I think that's maybe like running just one marathon. They're like, done it, did it, said I did it, and now I'm finished.
Which actually I did. And it was a half marathon. I did the half and I was like, I don't need to run the full. I'm good.
Same here. Yeah. Did the San Francisco half marathon and said, you know what? I think that's good. We got halfway there and we're fine.
You know what's so funny? That was the one that I ran too. I did the half when I lived in San Francisco. Yeah. And I was like, I'm good now.
There you go.
But running and writing cookbooks are two very different things.
No, although if you do write a lot of cookbooks about baking, running might be a good thing to add to your list of hobbies, just from a health perspective.
Absolutely. And the older I get and the more children I have and the more baking books I write, some days it's not cute. Sometimes I feel pretty good. And then other days it's like, man. But it is, it's fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling job. It fits well with my personality, like the different aspects of my personality. I do really like to work alone and intensely and get sort of over dramatic about what I'm doing and be solo. But there's also like the social aspect, because you let these things out into the world, and then, you find out people are actually making things that you thought up in your own head. And it's like, it's pretty awesome. So it's a very multifaceted job, which I didn't really think about going in, but I like it.
I think you touched on something when you said the working alone aspect. Like, my wife does not enjoy cooking or baking. She likes to heat things. Maybe she can heat, but not so much cook or bake, which she would acknowledge. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it and a lot of fulfillment. I love the fact that it is something that has a start, a middle, and an end. I love the project aspect of it. I love the challenge of trying to accomplish something and then also adding it to your toolkit. Like, yes, I know how to make that, and I want to try to make it better next time. The whole thing, I love all of it. And then you get to eat at the end. I mean, really, what's not to love?
Yeah.
But there is something about the project part that is especially fulfilling, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think when you tackle something, and I've done this a lot in this new book, is, thinking of things that either I grew up with, because I'm from the Midwest and then spent 13 years in California and then kind of came back home a little over 2 years ago. And that's kind of like what inspired this book, was sort of looking at things I'd grown up with new eyes, like things I'd always taken for granted. And then thinking like, I've never actually made that. I mean, I've eaten that a million times, that bread or pastry or whatever it is, or some kitschy recipe you would always have at a bake sale, but it's like, I've never made that, but like, can I modernize it and make the kitschy things better and sort of more up for modern tastes? And that's been a big part of this book, is like the discovery of making things new and kind of putting my own like stamp on it.
Well, and a little bit of a love letter too to where you're from.
Oh, 5,000%. I mean, I'm sure that was in the proposal somewhere, that exact line you just said, because that's, yeah.
Well, in some way, it's almost an homage to who you are, because I think we all are a little bit of where we're from on some level too. So definitely. I mentioned before people who might want to do the kind of thing you're doing, and I'm going to ask you a two-pronged advice question. So what advice would you have to someone out there who says, hey, I would love to do this kind of thing? If you could think of one piece of advice to give them, what would you say?
Well, the thing that I hear time and time again, whether I'm trying to sell a new book or pitch a show idea or whatever it is, it always comes down to your existing platform. It's like, which is to say, who is already watching what you do and consuming what you're putting out into the world? And, the buyer or the client or the network or the publisher, whoever it is, kind of wants to know, like, what's the money in the bag already? Like, what do you bring to the table by me? So for instance, using a book, like, I always have to put my social media numbers in my proposal. You always have to sort of show, who's already buying what I'm selling, because they want to know how easy is their job going to be to make money, And so it's a very not romantic answer, but especially now in food media where it is so crowded, you really have to sort of bring a fresh voice to the table, and with that, a new audience that's already kind of into what you're doing. And it doesn't have to be, thousands and thousands of people. I mean, I had lunch with a friend today who's got like 150,000 Instagram followers, and he's just blowing up, and it's amazing. And then, there's me and I'm somewhere in the middle. And then there's someone coming up who has, a few hundred or 1,000. I mean, that's good. That's a good place to kind of build, But I do think that you have to kind of be able to show what you're already producing in order to get the opportunity to be published. But there's also self-publishing, and there's so many ways you can put your own projects out in the world now. But I think having a very specific a niche. I mean, I heard that for so long and thought it was such crap, but it's true.
And then you did a cookbook on marshmallows.
And then I did a cookbook on marshmallows. No, but you have to pick a lane, right? Because I feel like everything is so crazy and people are driving everywhere and it's nuts. But like, you do much better in a creative field if you pick a lane and pick something that you're truly connected to, so that when things get really hard and boring, you don't have to dig too deep to remember why you did it in the first place.
So I said it's a two-parter. One was advice for people who want to do the same kind of thing. The second is, what would be your number one piece of advice for someone baking anything, period? Like, if you had one tip that you wish you could tell everybody, hey, don't forget XYZ, what would it be?
Get an oven thermometer. No.
Sounds so basic.
It is so basic, Mark, but it will change your life. I mean, particularly if you have an oven that you've had for a while, or if you're a renter, I guarantee you, your landlord is not calibrating your oven when someone new moves in, And when you have that thermometer in there, you are 90% of the way there to following the recipe, because you know that you're baking at the temperature that you are supposed to. So, the chemical reactions are going to happen the way they're supposed to. You'll get the rise and the texture you want, the level of brownness you want. And you'll, if it's a new recipe, you'll be able to have a much more realistic time frame to check for doneness. And it just sets you up for success. I mean, I know it does seem very basic, but that will change your life. I mean, I had a really crummy old, oven in my last place in San Francisco. And it was, I think it ran 50 degrees too cool. So that's awful. But then once I knew that, it was like I could always just do the math, and then it becomes like second nature. So it is
funny. You're right. It does sound basic, but for people who are just used to cooking, it's like, you know what? Your 12-minute dinner rolls are going to get cooked one way or the other if you're off a little bit, or your frittata is going to be fine if you're off 20 or 30 degrees, but your cheesecake is not.
Right. Yeah.
If you're off by that much.
Yeah. I mean, with baking, I think realistically every, 10 to 15 degrees will make a big difference. Yeah.
All right. Where do you fall on measuring? Do you weigh your ingredients, or are you using measuring cups?
I weigh everything with a scale, particularly when
That's a game changer, by the way, right?
It really, really is. And I know it is not the all-American way to bake. My books kind of from the last one and then this one have weight and volume, which is cups and spoons, so that you can do either. But I think the biggest thing when it comes to weight is flour. So your cup of flour can weigh anywhere from 4 ounces to 5 ounces, depending on how you do it. Like, how much flour are you packing into that cup? And so I test all my recipes at 128 grams per cup. So that's sort of my
32 grams a quarter cup or something. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so that way, I know as I am developing a recipe that there are much fewer variables in that case. I know I'm not off, putting too much flour in something and not realizing it. It's like, weight is the way to go, for sure.
When I was researching before we chatted today, went on your website and had fun reading the bio. So have a couple of questions for you based on that. Fan of singing to classic rock songs. What's the go-to classic rock song you sing to?
Oh, God, what day is it, Mark? It could be anything. Is it Foreigner?
It's a
is
Friday
it Boston?
Today.
Is it Fleetwood Mac?
Is Bon Jovi classic? Like, what do you consider classic rock? That's another question.
Got to be a little older than Bon Jovi, I feel like. But although I guess, Bon Jovi is probably classic rock now. Guns N' Roses is classic rock now, which is ridiculous. But
Don't remind me.
But I think, something for me growing up, I mean, what's classic rock to me is usually a lot of like late 70s kind of Trans Am type stuff. You know what I mean?
Like, are we talking black Trans Am with the gold eagle stenciled on the hood?
Yes.
Yeah, T-tops maybe.
Crank up some Styx.
Yeah, I got a sleeveless shirt on, ready to guns out, suns out party.
That's right. Maybe some REO Speedwagon if you're trying to romance the lady.
See, I feel like there'd be some AC/DC or some Pour Some Sugar on Me, Def Leppard in the mix, depending upon the recipe. I mean, cherry pie you can work in.
That's 80s too. That's like 80s like hair band stuff.
So what if you did this? What if you did a cookbook that you took your favorite classic rock songs and you paired them with items that you should cook when you're listening to this, right?
I am sure someone has already thought about that. I'm sure that book has already been created and it's being sold
I'm just saying.
In a bookstore in a Harley Davidson museum somewhere or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the name would be.
Oh, if you give me a minute, I'll come up with something.
We'll work on that. So I think you should do that, and I think you should do a coffee table book about coffee tables.
Maybe when I get closer to retirement, I run all out of recipe ideas.
You can have that one. It's for free.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Who do you look up to? Who's somebody that you're inspired by, whether it's in this field or just out there in the world?
There's a woman, her name's Lynn Rosetto Casper, and she's the host of, or was until recently, she retired, the host of a public radio show called The Splendid Table. And that's actually a show that I work for now as a contributor, which is still sort of a very pinch me type gig. And I first started listening to that show in probably 2006. It was the tail end, like the last year or so that I lived in LA, when I was still really hardcore doing the entertainment news thing, but I had this budding sort of interest in food. And I started listening to that show and I was just totally blown away by the way this woman made recipes and stories from all over the world seem so accessible. And she's so smart and she can, make something out of nothing. And just a really amazing woman. And I think that listening to her show made me realize that a career in food media could be a thing, that you could sort of be yourself and have your own opinion about food and be creative with food and do it in a way that wasn't like highbrow and exclusive and inaccessible. And it also wasn't Rachel Ray, right? It wasn't like that flip side where it's like, colors and craziness. And, it was sort of a lower key, but really smart way of telling food stories. So she's someone who I really, really admire. And I got to meet her when they had a sort of farewell event for her. And I'd never met her in person before, but I'd heard her say my name on the radio a bunch of times,
Wow.
Doing introductions for my segments for the show. Mm-hmm. And I walked up to her and of course I was like, thank you for, I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for you. Like literally she was just the inspiration for taking a completely different turn in my career. And she just was like so warm and she was like, I love your segments and I love your interviewing. It was like she knew who I was. Like it was the weirdest thing. Mm-hmm. And even though it's not, she's maybe not a household name, I think certainly to people who know her, she's had a very big impact on their cooking lives and their eating lives. And that's the kind of person to me that is really inspiring. Like not someone who needs to be some big Food Network celebrity, but someone who can influence a little moment in someone's life. And that's kind of like what I get to do with my recipes. And it's, she's just like the personification of that whole idea for me.
But there's an intimacy, it sounds like, with what she does and the relationship that you had first as a listener that drew you to her. Yeah.
And I think radio is and podcasting too, is very, it's intimate in that way because you're not assaulted with a bunch of like visuals and stuff like that. You're really taking the time to listen to someone as though you're having a conversation with them. And I think that was just something that she has always done so well.
You talk about her being inspirational, also courtesy of your bio on your website. Nesting bowls apparently are also a big deal to you.
Oh, yes. Bowls that nest, things that fit neatly. Very, very appealing to me. Although my pantry, everything's a mess. I mean, please don't think I'm type A and everything in my house is clean. So when I can find things that fit together and all the pieces are there, it's just like very satisfying.
Is this just like the satisfaction of seeing pretty Russian nesting dolls together? Or is it the fact that like, oh, I have these bowls in 6 different sizes, but they only take up the space of one?
Yes, it is practical, and it's like, I like that. Although I will say, since I have moved back and started working on this book, and we really want the aesthetic of this book to feel much more collected as opposed to styled, I've become a lot more fond of my little sort of bowls and kitchen tools and baking pans that I find kind of at thrift stores and stuff like that. And I like the fact that they feel like someone else has used them. So not all my bowls nest at the moment, which is alarming. Maybe I should change my bio. It's a good point.
Well, you did talk also in your bio about vintage bakeware. What is your favorite piece of vintage bakeware that you own?
Well, I am actually sitting in my office right now, and I have behind me a wall of bundt pans in different colors. I sort of like collect them from just wherever I find them. And I just love the shapes and the colors and the different, some of them feel like they've really been used and loved. My husband thinks it's great, but I bring in another bundt pan. He's like, "Oh, look at this, another pan.
Great.
Is this another
Nothing
one?"
bundt pans.
Are we? Yeah. Are we baking in this one? No, good. Just for the wall.
Yeah.
Just checking.
So when we move, we're taking this with us.
I'm like, don't worry about it. It's going on the wall. It's not going to be in the way. It's fine.
I too appreciate a good piece of bakeware. My great grandmother passed a few years ago, and one of the things that I was excited to be able to get was one of her cast iron pans.
Oh.
It was one of the old school pieces of cast iron, very smooth, and it needs a little TLC to get it back to cooking condition. But there's something about, and you mentioned this before too, there's something about a piece of bakeware that you feel like this has stories to tell. It's seen a lot, it's learned a lot, it's been there in someone's home and been used repeatedly, and there's something kind of cool about a piece like that.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the person is with you still in the kitchen, which I think is such a lovely thing. And I catch myself a lot. Actually, just yesterday, I was testing a recipe, the fritters from hell. Yeah. And I was so frustrated. And there was something, I was using like a knife. It was like a little tomato knife that I was using, not for tomatoes, but something else. And it was her knife. And it was just one of those things where I got caught sort of in a moment of just knowing that she was there. And I don't know. It's those things, it's those objects that you sort of grew up seeing someone you love use those things time and time again. And so for me, it was the tomato knife, and I have a really ugly avocado green pot that was hers, that like always the batch of mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving was always made in this particular pot. And so when she passed, I was like, I don't really care about the jewelry. I just need the pot, and I need I need the tomato knife, and I'm good.
I know for me, it's funny how that wasn't something that I had an appreciation for when I was younger, but both pretty much, I think, the grandmothers on both sides for my mom and my dad were all big cooks. And so that was just very much a part of those family experiences, was people in the kitchen cooking, and then you eat the food afterward. And then as a kid, you don't really appreciate it. But then later on, you get the intrinsic value to those pieces because of the memories that they bring when you see them, when you use them, et cetera. All right. So when it comes to other baking cookbooks that you enjoy, what are a couple of standouts for you?
Oh, I have some on my desk. I'm a huge fan of Nigella Lawson. For so many reasons, she's just the queen. But her books they're as easy to read as they are to cook from. And I think that that's something that I always strive to do. I think a lot of people read books as nightstand sort of material, like novels. And I like books that are a little bit sort of a little chattier. I mean, you want to feel like someone's with you as you're doing the thing. And so I really love Nigella. There's a really beautiful baking book that I always flip through. That's called the Violet Bakery Cookbook. And that's a bakery in London, a little tiny place. And it's just like a really beautiful book. What else do I have? I have tons of vintage cookbooks. A big part of the research for this book, making sure I cover all the bases, because you can really easily offend someone in the Midwest if you exclude something from the collection. And I know that I'm not getting everything. I mean, it's just impossible. But I have like a whole shelf of, community cookbooks and those sorts of things. And there's a couple great books that actually came out this year that are fabulous. There's a book called Dining In by Allison Roman. Just a really neat take on just cooking dinner. Like, it's a really great home cooking book, but the recipes are really on point. And I was able actually to interview her for the Splendid Table, and she's just really smart. She has a really great sense of like flavors. I've always got something. I've always got a cookbook somewhere. I feel like they're everywhere.
Well, I'm someone who owns way more cookbooks, both just traditional cooking and baking, than any person should own without having really read a lot of them. Mm-hmm. I'll see them in the bookstore back when there used to be bookstores and like, oh, that looks great. I'm going to get it. And then it never gets opened, especially because you can find almost any recipe you need on the internet nowadays. But there's something about those books that I think is special and romantic in a way. One of the cool possessions I have is a cookbook my mom made years ago. 20 or 30 years ago, where she took all of these different family recipes and put together a family cookbook. Aww. And which, by the way, the work that went into that, I can't even wrap my head around to do this 30 years ago before we had computers and printers and the ease of putting those things out there. But that's a treasured cookbook around here. And another one that I have that I enjoy, I've got most of Thomas Keller's cookbooks, and those are like they're like going to culinary school.
Yes.
Reading through those and learning about different types of butter, or why to, like we talked about before, why to weigh your ingredients as opposed to just measuring them. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, those are like coffee table books. I don't know anyone who's taken like the French Laundry book like into the kitchen. Like, maybe you have, but mine always kind of just...
I've taken the Bouchon bakery cookbook in.
Yes.
And have made the...
one thing.
What have I made? I made the croque madame with their brioche, the brioche recipe that they have, which was a learning experience. Yeah. His blueberry muffins are also pretty spectacular, as are the cookies, the oatmeal and the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah. But see, that's a really interesting point. So you pick up this very complex book. I have that book too. It's brilliant and awesome, and massive. But the things that people make are the blueberry muffin and the chocolate chip oatmeal cookie, and we are drawn to those things that are, I don't know, soothing, more comfort food. I think people do like projects. When it comes to a bread or something like that, a couple times a year, maybe someone will say, oh, I want to make croissants or something like that. And I think it's so interesting. I have to think about these things as someone who makes cookbooks, and how are people really going to use them? And there's always a point where it's really easy to get too into your sort of baker's mind and be like, oh, and then I can make this, and then I can add this element, and we'll put it all together. And I always have to go, just calm down, pull it back. Like Janice in Indiana just wants the one bowl situation. She wants the one bowl version of this.
She just needs a good pie crust, because Janice's crusts are soggy and they don't flake.
Yeah. Right.
Janice needs help.
And if she's going to make it from scratch, it's got to be good. And so I do try and be very cognizant of number of dishes used and amount of time it takes, and what's the payoff. And if something is going to take longer, is it going to yield something significantly better than if you bought the shortcut thing from the store? And that happens a lot in this book in the Midwest. There's a lot of dishes that run on Jell-O and Cool Whip, and I don't want any of that in the book. So if you're going to have someone make a Jell-O mold from fresh cherry and plum juice and Bloom gelatin. It can't take much longer than using the packet, and it has to really taste great, you know?
But I do think, like, one of the things about some of these books where you only make 3 things out of the book, there's a romanticism to, I want to live the life where I could make all of those things. I want to have the time and the resources and the energy and the expertise. So maybe there's something aspirational about having, those big, massive cookbooks that are filled with beautiful pictures on them, even if it's just living the life, which I think, by the way, is the idea behind a lot of food programming on TV. It's not that people are really going to make all of those things. It's that I want to think that I could, or I want the life where I could do that.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because one of the ways that I've always described my style of baking and the things that I really love is that it's inspirational, not aspirational. Like, I want to make things in a way that makes someone go, I'm going to make that right now, and not do it just for the sake of doing something fancy, which I think happens a lot, especially with Instagram, for example. You know, people just want a photo that a lot of people are going to like and comment on, but that it doesn't really translate into real life. And I think I've had this conversation recently where, you know, maybe could I have gone a little farther in my career at this point? You know, like, could I have a show or something if, like, I completely bought into this lifestyle idea? Like, if you watch cooking shows now, it's very much about wanting to live the life of the person who's teaching you those recipes, not so much about the food itself, which is what you just said. And I think, you know, that translates it's kind of 2 parts. So you can watch really smart food TV on, say, PBS. That's maybe not the glossiest, most romantic thing, but you'll be so encouraged to make a dish that you see on a PBS cooking show. Whereas if it's a show with big personality on Food Network anymore, and it's like shot in their big, amazing house, you're sort of like just there for the house. You're there for the environment more than like the food. You know, I think there's very few people that do both well.
I think that's an interesting distinction, the inspirational versus the aspirational. And I can see value in both, definitely. I think if you skew too far in the aspirational direction, then you lose the essence of why you're there in the first place. So to that end, what are some of your go-to favorite cooking shows? And I really hope you say the Great British Bake Off is one of them.
Well, we watch, my kids and I watch that show like crazy. So I've seen a lot of that stuff several times because they like to watch certain episodes. But yeah, big fan of the Great British Baking Show. I love, obviously anything Nigella. I'll watch that all the time. I like, actually a lot of the stuff I like is actually British cooking shows. Like, I really like to watch, Jamie Oliver and Sophie Dahl and a lot of stuff that you find. I usually have to kind of dig through YouTube to see who's posted episodes. And I think that there is that feeling of things being in real time and being very handmade, and not this feeling of trying to make somebody like this, this mixer I'm doing on this fancy countertop and just make someone lust around the set of things, but really focus on the food. And a lot of my favorite baking books are actually British books too, now that I think about it. Maybe I'm just in the wrong sort of country. I don't know.
Yeah. If you move to Britain, I do think they have a 10 bundt pan limit. You can only bring 10 bundt pans into the country without a permit.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it's funny that you say that about the inspirational, aspirational stuff and just what you like to watch and then the big glamorous kitchen. I think a really funny sitcom would be a parody of a home cooking show. All right, stay with me here. So you've got the home cook, right? Or you've got the Rachel Ray type, and she seems like she's got it all together. Maybe not Rachel Ray type, but someone like who's in the cooking space who has it all together. Yeah. And so half of the show is the straightforward, look at how beautiful my kitchen is, look at how great the souffle came out, and then you cut away to the behind the scenes stuff where everything's falling apart and the kitchen caught on fire and her hair's a mess and she had to throw 4 souffles away, and you cut back and forth between the two. And it's just a take on, here's what we put out there, here's what it's really like.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much respect.
I would watch that show.
I would watch that show. Yes.
Thank you.
Because there you go. Start writing checks. Start signing checks, Mark. That's a great idea. People don't really write checks anymore, but if they did, you would be writing a lot of checks. I think there is such a beauty to that in food, and that extends to the photography and everything, and just having things look a little messier. I mean, that is a trend for food photography. You want to see crumbs, you want to see smudges, and I think that there is something to that. No one wants to see, although there is an audience for really fancy, like patisserie with fondant and perfect mirror glaze and all of that stuff. But I think for me, I want to give people things that are useful. There is so much useless crap in the world that is just like, I just want to make someone's day, their cooking life, just make a memory, like help somebody make a moment. I mean, my favorite things are when people send me emails of recipes they used for their kid's birthday cake, or things that they brought. I mean, people send you the nicest things. It's just,
I bet
it's such a great feeling. To know that people are kind of making just nice little life moments on things that you created. It's like the best thing ever.
Well, I think it speaks to that intimacy that we talked about before.
Yeah.
But by the way, I think Melissa McCarthy, that's who I'm seeing as my cooking show host. So, I'll talk to her people. I'll let you know how it progresses, but, keep you posted.
Can I be like the crazed PA that has to like run to the grocery store every 10 minutes because the food stylist runs out of stuff?
That's perfect. Yeah. Yes. Okay. And you're like going to the grocery store, like, look, I need shishito peppers. And the guy's like, you need what? I need some shishito peppers. Like, give me a jalapeno. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Like, I need Meyer lemons. And they're like, it's April. Can't find them. And it's like, what? Or something.
There's like three people who laughed at that.
Yeah.
Glad to be one of them. Looking also at your website and some of the different places that your work and that you have appeared. I mean, not even starting with TV Guide Network, Extra, the Reels channel, etc. Food Network with the Kathy and Hoda or Today Show. Have you done both?
I've done the Today Show several times.
So what's the biggest pinch me moment that you've had in this entire journey, aside from the woman you mentioned earlier telling you that she knew who you were?
Since we're talking about the Today Show
and appearing on this podcast,
this is very full circle, Mark. It's a nice moment. Being on the Today Show is something that never, ever, ever gets old. Like, that is never not cool. Like, people cheer for you when you do it. It's like having a Facebook birthday. Like, every time you do the Today Show, like, people are just love it. It's such an iconic thing. And the funny thing about doing it is that the Today Show, have you ever been on the set anywhere there? Am I like talking to I don't know if you have done that or not, the Today Show.
That would be no, but thanks for rubbing it in.
Well, no, listen, my assumption is if they would have me on,
it's a joke.
Everyone has been on, okay? So what I'm saying is the set is divided up into little areas because it's not a very big space. I mean, this space has been around since like the 50s or something, right? Mm-hmm. And so the kitchen set is in a studio upstairs, and it is actually Studio 1A. There is a sign on the door that says Studio 1A. Mm-hmm. And that's like the big iconic voice that, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Center. And you're like going up to the door and you're like, holy crap, I'm going into this.
This is it.
Great. It's like you're crossing into like when Dorothy opens the door and the movie goes from black and white to the yellow brick road, and it's to color. And you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like really crossing over into greatness, and that is just so wonderful. And it's such a well-oiled machine. And everyone who is on that show is, for the most part, pleasant, professional, happy to be there. When Hoda was named like co-anchor, I was like, everything is right in the world because she is such a wonderful person. And so many of them are. They know exactly how lucky they are to have reached that level, what they're doing, which is just such a cool thing. Because, I mean, I've I've done other shows, like national shows. I've done smaller local shows where people are bitter because they want to work their way up to the Today Show and they're not there. And there's like this cloud of, So the Today Show is it's a very special thing to do. Yeah.
Do you have a dressing room when you go there?
No, because when you are a kitchen talent or kitchen guest, you go into like the separate green room with like their assembly line makeup and hair people who make magic in 15 minutes. It's ridiculous how quickly they can make you look like the best version of yourself. So yeah, no, they move you in and out like fairly quickly. It's usually you're never hanging out there all day. I mean, it's live TV, so you're on the set for as long as your segment takes, and then it's like move it on to the next. So
I like the idea of you trying to hang out there all day, though. They're like, hey, Shauna, it's 5 p.m. We need you to leave. It's time to go.
There is a feeling where it's like, well, I have the badge, so I could go anywhere, Can
I go visit the SNL folks upstairs?
Yeah, I mean,
Go say hi to Lauren.
It really is a fun place. It's one of my favorite things to do, for sure.
All right, here's another completely random question for you. What is the one baking ingredient that you could never have too much of, given the choice?
Butter, I guess. I mean, it's not my favorite. I'm not like one of those people.
Somewhere, Paula Dean is silently nodding her head.
It's like, girl. No, I mean, because I'm not one of those. Add more butter, it makes it better. But it is the basis of so many great things. I'd also say I've become very fond of light brown sugar in this book. And for a long time, I was a very, just pro dark brown is the only one worth, it's got more flavor and all that. But I found that light brown sugar has a very interesting place in recipes. It gives you a softness and a sort of a chewiness and a hint of extra flavor, but it doesn't barrel into the recipe, And that's something I've been using so much of in this book, which has been surprising.
If you take nothing from this podcast, loyal listeners out there, take light brown sugar as an option to your future recipe attempts.
Has even surprised myself. Maybe I have just become more Midwestern in the time that I've been here, but it seems very appropriate.
I would have also accepted cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Have you ever had a dish that you're like, a little too much cinnamon? I haven't.
Well, do you want to know why I use Vietnamese cinnamon? Or sometimes it's called Saigon cinnamon, which is it's very potent. And actually, if you taste it off your fingertip, it tastes almost like Red Hot's candy. It has a little sweetness and it has it's got some heat to it. So you definitely can use too much of that. Whenever you have a very high quality spice or ingredient that really tastes the way it's supposed to, you can definitely add too much of that. But that is one of my favorite things to have.
Well, I tell you what, next time I go to the special baking supply store, I'm going to look for some Saigon cinnamon.
Saigon cinnamon or Vietnamese cinnamon, depending on where you buy it.
Good to know.
Shout out.
Last but not least, if you didn't do this, what else would you do? I mean, you have a career that, like you said, started with hopes of becoming an actress, kind of morphed into some of the TV journalism and entertainment news you did, which, by the way, we completely glossed over and passed over the fun interviews you had back in the day. Maybe that's for another podcast. But if you weren't doing this, what else would be a dream job out there for you?
Honestly, I cannot think of anything else other than doing what I'm doing at sort of a higher level. So I don't know if that's really a good answer, but I cannot think of anything else. I mean, I think I would actually. Yeah. I
think it's a great answer because I think it maybe is a testament that this is on some level the dream for you. It's certainly what it sounds like.
That's actually very moving, Mark. I've never thought about it in that way before. But it is true. I cannot think of anything else that I would want to do more. And honestly, if I wasn't doing this, I would probably just be straight up doing the stay-at-home mom thing and hating my life. So that's the alternative.
But man, the brownies you'd bring to the PTA bake-off would be Magnificent.
Yeah, I've always had this sort of chip where I can't just do something, like be good at something and just sort of do it sometimes. Like if I feel like it's something I'm actually good at, like I have this tendency to just really, really try it until it either doesn't work or it sort of takes off. And right now I'm kind of at the midpoint. I'm like about 10 years into this sort of path, and I'm starting to feel a bit of, momentum. I'm satisfied with what's happening right now, but I'm looking forward to what's next.
I said last question, but I lied. What is your one? Is there a recipe that is your favorite? Your absolute that's my favorite. That's the most special to me. That's the one that is a guaranteed home run every time. Is there one that stands out to you for some reason?
Yeah. So I make this stuff called chocolate chip cookie brittle, and it's very, very simple. It's one bowl. It's like when you get a chocolate chip cookie that has a crispy, sort of brown buttery edge, you do that intentionally in an entire pan.
Right.
And then you break it up into chunks and you just eat it like candy, kind of. And that's something that I've made for years that is gone in an instant. Everyone wants to know how to make it. And that's something that's kind of followed me around. That's been the thing that people write about, or, I guess maybe that's my legacy. Or some people say, oh, you're the marshmallow lady, which sounds just so sad. Like, it's just me and my cats and the homemade marshmallows. It's like, it sounds really sad. But people know me from that too.
Could be worse. They could say you're the cotton candy lady because cotton candy's trash.
It's just straight trash.
Oh, well, I can't thank you enough for making the time for me. You are one of my favorite people, and I'm so glad that you're getting to do one of your favorite things and being able to have so much fun doing it. Not just that we all get to kind of join along by keeping up with what you're doing on TV, with the cookbooks, with the social media and all that. So thank you for the time. And before we go, for people who want to see more of your great stuff, they want to buy your book, they want to follow you, what's the best way they can keep up with what's going on?
Well, I'm kind of everywhere. Shauna Sever, everywhere. ShaunaSever.com, and then on Instagram, Shauna Sever.
Easy enough.
The most I've ever said my name in a row, I think, ever. Yeah.
Well, that's enough. I'll let you get back to some baking. Although next time you're in New York for the Today Show, if they need a PA or a food taster, let me know. I'll be their stat.
Or someone to run to the store for groceries. Because that always happens.
Oh, Meyer lemons. I need some Meyer lemons.
What a nightmare.
Excuse me, sorry, just finishing off a brownie. Thanks to Shauna for taking time out of her very busy schedule to hang out today. And do her a favor, why don't you? Buy her new cookbook, or her old ones too. You can find them on Amazon or find links on her website at shaunasever.com. While you're at it, you can also subscribe to this podcast. You can like, share, tweet, send smoke signals, whatever you want to do to let other people know about it. Much appreciated. Until next time, thanks for listening.